I think corporations, rich people would absolutely bring back slavery if they could. I am just getting more and more convinced of this. I mean, they don't care if we starve, are gonna be homeless and maybe die, or want to rest in between shifts. Profit is all that matters. If they can get away with anything on the workers' expense, they will. But not just that. The top class loves to see those below them struggle and desperate. It makes being rich much sweeter. And it's easier to take advantage of, and even by the people under you if they are desperate enough. They want to own us and to be our masters. It's obvious seeing how they try to assert more and more control over everything we do. Like forcing us to rent instead of us owning our own place. They like everyone else being like peasants. Because they are evil. Already we are seeing them bring back child labor. The fact that we had to make laws to keep companies from working people to death proves you right. In reality, many companies profit from slave labor in the US right now. Slavery is still legal in the US, as long as the slave is incarcerated. Here's a list of some of the companies that profit from slave labor. Here is another list. Probably not chattel slavery. Slave owners had to buy their slaves up front and were responsible for clothing and housing their workers. Capitalism and wage slavery are much more cost-efficient for the takers than chattel slavery ever was. What do you mean, would? Enslaving prisoners is still legal and practiced. That's 100% true. Slavery isn't gone. It's never been gone. In the US, slavery is legal as punishment for crime. That's why they can pay prisoners pennies to work, or nothing at all. Corporations take advantage of prison labor as a means of saving money. They use slave labor in other countries to save money. Rich people use undocumented immigrants as slave laborers all the time, and only occasionally are punished for it. Private prison systems are literally modern-day slavery. They use inmates as cheap, basically free labor and make huge profits off of them. Isn't that the point of tying healthcare to employment? Keeping rents high, despite low occupancy? Divisive, and therefore ineffective, politics? Shifting any retirement savings to the market, with big penalties for accessing your own money. Breaking even the idea of unions. Corporations and rich people have made us slaves since the 80s and we never even noticed. In slavery, aren't you fed and watered and housed and have no freedom other than to work for your owner? Because if you're spending all your money on rent and bills and only working, then I don't see the difference. TBH. They don't have to bring it back. Carceral slavery exists in the US. Corporations benefit, and it's legal under the exception of the 13th Amendment. What do you mean, bring it back? It never went away. The current system is actually cheaper. Slave owners had a legal obligation to feed, clothe, and house their slaves. Corporations are happy to let you live in your car and on EBT. Food stamps. This is not to pretend slavery is preferable, but to point out how far behind we still are as a society. Don't even have to think about this. If laws weren't in place to stop it, then it would have happened already. It is not a matter of bringing slavery back. Slavery is the law of the land in the United States. Amendment 13, Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. You're talking about expanding it to fit the wishes of our corporate overlords. Here I am, thinking that was what the whole Second Amendment was for. Clearly it wasn't. It just Meal Team 6 could engage in Operation Desert Storm and lug around hardware in the streets. Your wage is a cost to your employer's business. Businesses try to keep costs down. If they didn't have to pay your cost, of course they would do that. It's in their financial interest. The one thing they wouldn't want to do is pay for your social reproduction, such as hosting food, clothing, education, etc. It's cheaper to rent a slave than it is to own one. I mean, doesn't Hershey's literally have slaves for cocoa? Seems like a no-brainer that of course they would. There's many ways to slavery. Chaining them to something and keeping them alive by giving them somewhere cold to sleep in bad food is a way. Making their lives miserable and unsustainable so that they overwork to afford to have somewhere cold to sleep and only afford to buy bad food is also a way. The main difference is that the first will try to break free, the second will think that they are already free and that this is just how life is. Bring it back? It's just been in disguise for the last 170 years. Many people rightfully point out convict leasing, which is something that can be done openly and legally in the US to use slave labor. But there is also unfortunately widespread slavery in a variety of industries worldwide. Every few years there's a new expose: slavery on shrimp boats, in nail salons, on chocolate plantations. It's never gone away and it's part the status quo.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.